Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Q&A of the day for the SEO Mastery Summit. I am already joined by Michael Tusky and Kyle Roof and Noel, who is the owner of jobrec.eu. So, Kyle, Michael, thank you very much for your speeches today. That's lots of fantastic feedback already, and keep rolling in. Obviously, the speeches are available for another while for the people who haven't caught them yet. But yeah, feedback so far very good. And I am very eager for the audience to start firing some questions. So I've been gathering a few from the sessions already, but I expect there'll be quite a few live questions as well. So Kyle, you're up very early.
Yeah, it's 5:15 a.m.
5:15 a.m. Same thing here. And I see Bradley join in as well. Welcome, Bradley.
How you doing, man? How you guys doing? Should I mute out?
No, we've all been missing you. So
intentionally?
No.
It's like when somebody tells me they're going on vacation to South Dakota, I always ask them on purpose. Who goes there on purpose?
Yeah. Right. So I'll start with a few questions, guys, and I'll probably fire them in the directions that I think is best. So, all right. So here's some content-related stuff. So I want to learn more. Oh, sorry. This is from Anna, and she says, I want to learn more about SEO and see more practical tips. I've been a content writer for many years, and I've learned how to write very good SEO-friendly content. I've recently been using a SEO extension and is eager to learn more. What is the best next steps? So SEO extension, that could sound Michael-ish.
Mysterious.
Mysterious, yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Didn't you released a bunch of courses like today or yesterday? I saw Andrew sharing that information on Facebook. I feel like it may be something relevant to this topic.
Well, thank you. We did, yeah. We IMG, we launched 16 courses, including my new brand new White Hat SEO course, which I don't want to shamelessly plug, but it might not be a bad thing for learning SEO.
For sure.
Yeah. So specifically for content writers, I guess, I mean, we're lucky enough to both have the surfers guys and the pub guys here. So that's obviously learning to use those tools is obviously great from a content writing perspective and getting better SEO content, I guess. Any other sort of feedback or suggestions in terms of getting a better writer?
One thing that I would mention is that I've always found you write better if you figure out the sections on your page. So figure out how many subheadings you need, the different sections. And then from there, look at options of like the related keywords that the related searches that show up in Google or the people also ask sections, and then use those to create the different sections on your page. And if you just answer them those questions or you write about those topics, you'll naturally end up with pages that are quite well semantically related. They're going to get a lot of the contextual terms you need to get on there. And you'll end up writing pages that are going to rank for a lot of keywords. So that's maybe a next step would be focusing on the different sections of your page, and then and writing accordingly.
I would add 2 cents from the business perspective of a writer, and I've recently figured out that niching down as a writer may be super helpful as a next step. So if you are a writer, think about the industry, think about something special that will differentiate you from the other guys on the web that will write about everything. Like I met a guy who is writing just SaaS comparisons for like SaaS blogs, like this versus that, and he specializes in it. And this way he managed to work with like great clients, big SaaS companies. And well, it's not like a difficult job to write comparisons. You do the research, you analyze these competitors, and you wrap up the content. It's not like surgery or other medical stuff, lawyer stuff, and other risky things. So niching down is really something that can help.
Yeah, don't say that too early, Michael. Writing content for me is a bit like surgery, but last time I wrote a 1,000-word article, it was about 7 years ago, so it's close.
One of the biggest issues that I see within not just our industry, but from just a content perspective, and I always use an example of a company that I openly criticize because they never learned. There's a company called Novu Health, and they're about a $70-80 million a year company. And if you look at their content, they're writing the same thing over and over and over again. So one of the headaches and one of the roadblocks that I see within the content writing community is we would walk into a prospective client and we would see them telling the same story over and over again, and it would confuse the search engine. So without properly planning the content and delineating what it is, and I think everybody here would agree with the statement that Google is reading a book when they go to a website. And it's your job to tell them what the chapters are, properly formulate the content, not tell the same 200 page story over and over again, because eventually you're just competing with yourself, right? And we've all seen that, where we're constantly looking at content that really doesn't make sense, other than somebody thinks that they need to write a piece of content. They think they need to publish a piece of content. They're not using the tools that are necessary to do it properly, right? And I'm giving a shout out to you guys. And be deliberate, be consistent, be thoughtful with the content, and really go back to what are people looking for from the standpoint of solution-based content writing. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I recently hired someone. I have a management course, and I recently hired someone who actually followed Michael's suggestion, and he focused on writing reviews on courses. And yeah, that was, someone who's used to doing that, actually going through a course and then writing a solid review on it. And that was definitely a no-brainer for me, hiring someone that had specialized in that. So, yeah, fantastic. So the next question I got here was, so Mike is saying, I've had big trouble outsourcing. I have been in a situation where I've hired multiple outsourcers, primarily, so 2 in Eastern Europe and a couple in the Philippines. And my problem have always been they haven't lasted long. So they've ended up leaving me within 3 months. What am I doing wrong? No, I think this is a perfect question for you. What is Mike doing wrong?
That's one for me. Yeah, so Mike's not going to talk to anything there about how he's gone through the hiring process. The main thing I'd say is take your time when you're hiring. Make sure you do test tasks. You've got to figure out can they actually deliver you the content they want. But spend time talking to them. What's their motivation? What are they actually looking for? If they're looking for a full-time gig and you're offering them, a couple of articles a week, 4, 8, 10 hours, something like that, then they're going to keep looking for something else. So it's figuring out and just, having just good conversations with them. It doesn't need to be an interrogation. Just talk to them, understand, what do they want? And is what you're offering, is that a fit? And it doesn't matter how good they are. If that's not a fit, then, maybe you take them for a little while, but, know that you're probably going to lose them. Or more likely, keep looking for the person that is a match for you. So main thing would just be take the time to really talk to them and just kind of get to know them and kind of figure out for both sides. It's really important. So just don't rush it. Really don't rush the recruitment.
Right. The next one is a big one. So I'm working as an SEO consultant in a larger agency, and I'm looking after 35 clients. Which of the many optimization possibilities should I prioritize, and which are most important? 35 clients. Wow, that sounds like a handful. So that's 2 clients a day. Any sort of quick wins? Any ideas on that?
I used to work this way in the agency, but these clients were rather local than big e-commerce sites. However, the most important part was to uh, keep the contact with the client really and ask for their actual needs for the particular moment. So the priorities, which products, which services to focus on, because with that amount of time you are just not able to take care of the whole service, to fix the whole technical issues, to fix all the pages optimization. No way, you even can't fix all the meta tags. So the most important thing here is to be aligned with the client, so you can actually deliver at least something, because I can imagine it's like a budget of 200 $300 a month maybe, when you have 35 clients. So how many hours you can spend, right? So that's it. Keep the contact and stay aligned with their needs as close as possible, and that's the only way to keep the client for long enough to deliver significant results.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's.
I like that answer, by the way. That's that goes back to how to eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? So I think, and I'm not trying to suck up to you, but when you look at why SEO people fail, right? In order to achieve success, you have to realize what causes failure, and you hit on something pretty big there. And I'm not trying to take over your narrative, ads, but what we see is everybody doing this shotgun approach in the industry, and they're just trying to pick up the pieces and keep all the balls in the air. And I think you enlightened everybody that if you go after that approach in the SEO industry, you will fail. It's just a matter of when and how long you get to play in the game before that happens. So being proactive versus reactive, I think that's a huge nugget.
Yeah, I agree. I like that one. So next question: how important is it to have native writers for all your content? Can you go 80-20 and have near native cheaper for info content and native high quality for money pages? So Kyle, I guess you could write it all in Latin, but any view on this one?
Well, what we do in our agency is we have a content editor, and that person is native to whichever language we need to write in, and then from that point have somebody that is it doesn't matter, get the cheapest content you can produce, because the idea is there's a real difference between writing and editing in terms of the amount of brain power it takes. One person can edit a ton of work, but only one person can only write a handful of things. So what we put together is kind of a stable of writers, and then their work gets funneled to an editor that's a native speaker for that particular language. And then they're the ones that do that kind of grammar edit, logic edit, but then they're also doing an SEO edit. So we kind of give a brief, get it as cheaply done as possible. That's reasonably good. And then from there it goes to edit. But what you'll find too is even if you got back a piece that was just garbage, it's still easier to write and edit that than it is to completely create from fresh. So what we've done is we've set up kind of get it as cheaply done as possible, and then have, before it moves on, it goes to a native speaker from there.
What's the ratio between writers and editors? Like how many writers can an editor handle to,
I don't know exact numbers, but we've got 3 main people that do the editing, and we've got a stable of, I don't know, 30, 40. Okay. We have a bunch.
Yeah.
And that's just for English too, because we have a couple of other languages.
Yeah. How many Latin writers?
I do all the Latin work.
Cool. Right, then we have this guy that you guys might know, James Dooley, and I'm not sure how serious he's being, but no, he's not a good SEO. That's no secret. Keyword density meta description. Yeah, I think we might skip that one.
4%, dude. 4%.
4%. Michael, get some Polish vodka. Well, thanks for that, Craig. That was very useful.
I'd have to leave the screen, but I have some. Oh, Greg, you will like this one because I have it handy. This is the best Polish vodka you can get, actually. Żubrówka. Totally recommended.
Excellent. Right, Peter, when expanding my website and leaving a certain topical cluster, does Google look at a ratio of my web pages for that cluster, or is it more just a number of pages that are relevant for that specific cluster?
I can't imagine that Google's going to spend the money to do a ratio of web pages for one particular site when there are billions upon trillions of sites. The amount of processing power that would take just to do that in the first place would be ridiculous for probably very little gain.
Yeah, I would imagine the same. Okay, this question. Now we're getting into the fighting competition here. Let's
we are cool.
Bradley, what's better?
Well, I have to be honest with you guys. I haven't used Surfer. I've used Kyle's tool. And in the end, they're both great tools. And I'm not picking on both of you, but I am. Everything that is a tool doesn't complete the job, right? It's a great support. And what I found when it came to tools is that we would crawl down this rabbit hole of percentages, data, and metrics, and it got us away from what the real, true job was, which was to write good content to solve problems. So I always tell everybody, and everybody's going to hate what I'm going to say next, but tell the story, write the story for the reader, solve whatever problem that they're getting there, and then make it as close using the great tools. And I've heard great things about Surfer. So I'm not picking on you guys, but write the story and create the solution, and then use the tools to make that the best version of what it is or what it can be.
I think that's my view. I mean, I've tried both the tools, right, and I think they both do a good job, right? It's obviously all. I mean, there's obviously two aspects: is what's the level of person who is using it, right? So if you're an expert SEO using it, understanding the data is probably not difficult for you with either tool. I think definitely the UX is important, and I think both Pop and Surfer have improved theirs over time, right? But
I'm going back. I'm trying to, I guess, go back to the basics at this point, which is, I don't know, however many years into a career, but I realized that I strayed off that beaten path, and I was just so focused on metrics, and I kind of had this big grudge on my shoulder with some of the other, not Surfer or Pop, but some of the other tool creators out on the market, that I found myself just so engulfed in the tools that I wasn't actually accomplishing and I wasn't achieving the end result, because I was so stuck on, well, if I do this, then this should happen. And if I do that, then this should happen. And so I kind of took a, what do you call those when you take a walkabout, right? Or whatever they do in other countries. And I think I was like a crack addict shaking as I pressed the cancel my subscription for one of the tools that I was spending the most time in, right? And I took a hiatus back from a lot of these tools, and I said, I'm just not making enough forward progress. So get good at writing, but more importantly, create your content in a way that you're not writing about frisbees one day and yo-yos the next and trying to rank for both of them, because you need to be deliberate in what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad you took it over.
Oh, welcome, Carl. Thanks for joining us.
Morning.
Like myself and Kyle, you're in the early time zone. Right. Josh says, link your black hat videos, please. Much served to one. I'm not sure if that's a question. Right, that's a good one here. I've heard Michael say that you lose or dilute your relevance when you enter a different topic cluster. So if you could talk some more about how does that affect my current site topic?
So I will tell you this exact example. Because at the time I was working the agency, we partnered with the other agency that was doing marketing, and they were like, we want to expand, we want to be bigger, we want to take over the world. And instead of writing content about SEO, they started to write content about television ads, radio ads, and other quite far away from the SEO topics, and they basically lost all of their rankings for SEO keywords. I don't know if that was related to the crawl budget, so the Googlebot was not visiting those SEO keywords anymore because they produced so many not SEO articles, but this is what happened. They just published the content that was not about SEO, and they lost the expertise. They were ranking pretty well, and after that, it was just cut off. Organic traffic from it, like SEO related keywords, gone. So, well, that happened. Not sure what was the real cause, like what actually moved the needle there, but definitely you can associate those two events, like having a lot of content uploaded that is not about the main niche topic, and losing organic traffic from those keywords that you used to rank for.
Can I ask a question? I know I'm supposed to be answering questions, but can I ask a
Go ahead.
based off of that? So what we used to do in the black hat world is we used to create tipping points with latent semantic application, that if somebody came in and they were their content was about cars, it was their job to delineate the difference between cars, the movie, or automobiles. So what we would do is, if it was an automobile website, we would create a tipping point with external content, and we would start talking about Disney cars, right? And then we would dilute what the meaning was from an external standpoint. So the question I would pose is, maybe could that have happened with content dilution, where we could confuse the search engine as far as what our true meaning is? It sounds like that's kind of what you're hinting at.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely tried it myself. I've definitely, I did one of these big review sites a few years back, and yeah, similar to like 10 Beast or whatever. And I had a lot of content in one cluster, and I went and added 100 posts in a couple of other clusters, and it totally killed all the rankings for the existing stuff. So I've definitely tried that. Michael, are you focusing on foreign language like Dutch and Surfer? And what
That's
NLP for foreign countries?
That's a question for Google, because they just do not support the other languages. They have like 8 languages. They have like Chinese, Russian, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, English, of course, French, and German. And I think that's it. But well, you can create NLP on your own, creating your own like models, but well, I'm not sure if Dutch market is big enough to cover that, but never say never.
Totally. So what's your thoughts on diluting your relevance on a topic, Kyle? Do you feel it's down to silo clustering correctly, as sites can rank multiple topics without losing rank if done right?
I guess, Michael, was this part of your talk on? Is that where this is coming from?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that James is referring to the situation that we described like a couple of moments ago of adding more stuff and losing, or I'm wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly haven't put too much thought in it. I didn't see your talk, so I don't want to speak to it.
Okay. Judge is always good enough, apparently. Fair enough.
Don't leave us with opinions.
I will investigate.
Well, you know, something you can do is that. So I have two thoughts on that. As Michael listed, he listed the ones that Google has, and it's like 8, right?
Mhm.
Something like that. So if Google isn't doing it in your language, you might want to think about if Google cares about it in your language. The other thing would be you can translate something into English, pretty much see what NLP topics ping, you know, what entities show up, and then just translate it back. So you could run it through and get the topics. If you really need them, that's what you could do, and you can get the broad topics. Because all it gives is broad topics. It's not laser focused. And a lot of it is weird, like wildly unhelpful. Which again, I would point out, like, if it is such a strong ranking factor, I'm not sure Google would just give it to you. Something to think about. You know, like, we've been hiding the whole thing for so long, but here we'd like you to have this API, which is going to show you exactly what to do.
I wonder how much money they make on this API. Is that the cheapest thing on earth?
It can't be enough to give away the keys to the kingdom.
Oh, for sure.
So I would just kind of think about the overall value, but if you really need it, you can just translate to English, see the entities that exist, and then just translate back.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm looking for staff, so this was a question from one of the speeches comment slots. So if I'm looking for staff, why should I look to Eastern Europe? Is it a cost quality sweet spot? Am I getting better, cheaper there to minimize cost, maximize output? I'll fire that one as you, Noel, first. Much better for me.
Yeah, sounds like for me. So in answer, yeah, it is a cost quality sweet spot. So, but I mean, I'm the first to say, you know, you can hire great people from all over the world. You know, obviously Mads is kind of an expert in kind of the Philippine area. There's people that have great success in kind of, you know, kind of South Africa, Latin America, the US. A lot of people, and, you know, we have a lot of success at JobRack, you know, helping SEO agencies to hire from Eastern Europe, because there's a blend of, you know, very low cost. So, you know, it's a little bit more than the Philippines, as an example, in terms of living costs, but it's, you know, half the cost at least of, you know, the Western world, the USA, Canada, Western Europe. You're getting really good English, and you're getting kind of a cultural alignment that is often missing in other areas of the world. So, you know, you get this kind of hard work ethic, you get the very, very straight talk and direct communication. And yeah, so it is that kind of really good blend. And that's why, you know, there's a ton of the people, some of the speakers, and a lot of the attendees kind of have hired through us for, you know, for kind of a fair few years now, and continue to do so. So yeah, are there other options? Yeah. Are there cheaper options? Definitely. It's like anything, you do get what you pay for, but it's all about finding that right balance for you. I'm always happy to talk to you kind of if people have got specific asks outside of this session. But yeah, it's a very, very good blend of kind of the cost and quality.
I'm sure now Kyle moved to Thailand that we can buy his time at $5 an hour.
Exactly right.
Fantastic. You're hired 25 hours a day. Right. Next question. Sorry. So, this is a very broad one. So, amongst the many ranking factors, which is the top 3 that would boost up traffic the most?
Who starts?
On page, off page, combination.
I thought you were going to say technical or something.
Yeah.
What about traffic? What about traffic?
That can't be a top 3 signal, can it?
I don't know.
Well, guys,
The only reason I asked that question is because I was looking at somebody's site the other day and their SEO sucked. I mean, it probably was the worst SEO that I've ever seen. Didn't even have title or meta descriptions, and they were ranking, I mean, top 5 for a shit ton of fairly competitive keywords, and it was based on outside traffic from like Instagram influencers and stuff of that nature, which I was just blown away. So as much as I ever think that I know all the answers, which I never think I do, I was actually pretty crazily surprised and how well a website was ranking with literally 0 on page, 0 off page, and it was all from traffic.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
Sounds a bit like cloaking.
It was a standard GoDaddy website builder.
Well, I mean, you can still do that through insertion.
These guys literally, honest to God, Kyle, they had no clue even how they build a website, and their brand took off, right? So it's actually in the cornhole industry, the game cornhole, and they started manufacturing cornhole bags, and they asked me to redesign their website. When I looked at it, there was literally nothing. There was no SEO. All of the stuff that we talk about on any given day, none of that was happening. And the guy wrote out the product descriptions and included comedy in it, that if Jim Bob throws XYZ bags, he's probably going to get, 5 inches closer to the hole. Why Google chose to rank all of those keywords in the top 5 is still beyond me, and I've been beating my brains out over it. So going back to giving props to Diggity, which I hate doing because I've never talked to the guy, but every once in a while I watch his stuff. I don't know. I guess I'm an addict, but he actually mentioned something about using traffic as a boost in getting the external traffic signals. While it's probably not a major signal, what percentage of a signal is it if you're competing against other people in the industry that also aren't good at SEO?
Yeah, I mean, my experience personally is definitely that traffic is a major player, right? Because, and this actually comes back to something Kyle was talking about in his speech, which is, you start with the small keywords and you get some traffic in, and as soon as you get that, Google start actually seeing your authority. So, I mean, we definitely have sites where we literally build up through traffic. So we just target some super easy keywords initially that have high traffic volume. And as soon as you get the traffic in, it's even like the sandbox itself. If you actually get traffic, and I don't even think it matters if it's from Pinterest or paid ads or well, I don't know with Google ads. Maybe Google can filter their own traffic somehow, but at least getting the traffic seems to get you out of the sandbox somehow. And I mean, we have sites that are literally getting, having single one pages that get 5,000 plus traffic a month, and as soon as you get a page to that level, like all content around it just takes off, right?
Yeah, and it goes back to the chicken or the egg, right? I mean, and I think and again, I'm not trying to kiss Diggity's ass, and I watched one of his videos, and I said, wow, I'm just beating my head against the wall right now to try and formulate the perfect content in the perfect way, and hell, nobody's going to see it, because I hadn't ever thought on the site that we were creating for somebody else, where does traffic play into that? And I'm not trying to be negative Norm or negative Nancy or whatever you want to call it, but I think that traffic, when we look at the importance of traffic, I think Craig's watching this. When we look at the value of traffic in getting people to the site, even if they're doing, I think, and the reason why I mentioned Craig is because Craig brought up something with doing Quora ads, and at one point I was like, Jesus, I don't ever even think of that platform. You know what I mean? But it's enough to get CPM advertising to get people to the site to send the right signals to Google saying, hey, this is why they went there. This is where they went. Maybe that's important enough for us to take a closer look.
Yeah, and
I think, as you kind of mentioned, it becomes vastly more important in low competition industries. So I did a course for the Estonian market. So we got like 1 million people, and there's probably 10,000 like active like online business owners. And in the course, one of the things I said was like, oh, it's a myth that Google ads impact your rankings. And then after the course launched, I had dozens of people emailing me like, no, but look at this. This is what happened on this date. I turned my ads on and our rankings go up. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. You don't get it. And then we started actually running some experiments. And then you look at keywords where it's literally like, I don't know, buy log houses or something with like 70 searches a month. Nothing else changes. You flip the ads on and people jump from number 7 to number 1 in a matter of 4 to 5 weeks. And there's no other explanation for it. But at the same time, you look at like the average website in Estonia, well, no one has proper meta titles, meta descriptions. There's no content. There's there's no on-page SEO, and link building is even more rare. I'm sure it's the same in like the Polish market, for example, where like there's no link building. There's news websites and other businesses. There's not that much else. Like there's no blogging community and so on and so forth. So in industries like that, factors become a much bigger thing. But when we look at, I don't know, my DR78 digital marketing blog and me running Facebook ads to a surfer SEO review, it's largely irrelevant as a signal in my experience.
I think basically what I've seen is it's particularly relevant if you're kicking off new areas. So again, if your core site, for example, have never written about a certain topic, and then you start a new topic, getting Google to actually accept that you know something about that topic, based on what we have seen. I mean, we've been trying quite a bit with Reddit ads as an example, because they can be very affordable as well, and we've definitely seen that being an opportunity. So
didn't we start with the top 3 ranking factors, deep? Ending up discussing Reddit, that's right. But I just wanted to pick up this user intent thing, guys. Really, this is a new kid on the block these days. I mean, it's not super fresh like from the last week, but over the last year, guys, so you cannot rank with not aligning with the user intent unless you keep on pushing the backlinks or keep on pushing whatever else you have. Really, this is the tier 1 factor these days. Like, at least in my opinion, we shouldn't forget about it.
yeah, makes a lot of sense. Right, so the next question here for link opportunities: if a guest post opportunity have 80% sponsored post instead versus 20% real post, I don't like the site. What's a good ratio, and how quickly do you judge this? I mostly check the last 10 posts published. I guess that's very much a linking question, but yeah,
I don't know that that's relevant. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but there's so many ways to game that system. I can spin content, translate it back and forth from Swedish to English, post it as original content, and have it pass Copyscape, and you never know that it was somebody else's article that I pulled in, or you know what I mean. So I think you go by the quality.
I think this specifically about links. So I think he's looking for guest post, and he's basically saying if a site have 80% guest post or sponsored post, is it a good site type thing?
That's just the site being honest.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, use whatever ratio you want, but I can show you 50 sites that it's all spun content or stolen articles, and they're not giving credit to anybody, and you'd never know. So Business Insider is a great one for stealing content from everybody, and they rank top 10 for best nail polish. I mean, you know what I mean, for Business Insider. So, but everybody looks at them and says they're, a quality website, when it's probably one of the shittiest websites on the internet.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, does any of you look at site:website.com? I do.
Every day.
Yeah, I definitely do. I love it. Actually, it's one of my favorite things when people are trying. We love buying sites, and when we're looking to buy sites, it's one of the first things I do is just to see how shittily optimized the site is. So that works well. It's another one from Peter.
Yeah, definitely. Both of those questions are without a doubt. I mean, that's a staple of what I do. But
this way you can easily find internal linking opportunities. So you just type your website and the keyword, and you'll get this main URL, and all of the rest below will be like top 3, top 5 will be great places where you can link yourself as an internal link for this keyword to support this keyword.
Yeah, and I mean, I love it both for my own site, but also when you look at competitor sites, right, and just get an idea of how much content do they have. Like when we are evaluating the difficulty of ranking in top 10 for a keyword, definitely looking at the top competitors and seeing how much content do they have relevant to a keyword is usually very useful.
Nice. Today I learned.
Right. Related to buying niche edits guest post, if a reseller is listing a bunch of sites for guest posts and niche edits on public website, behind a login or not, we can safely say that these websites are all compromised by Google and that you should not use them for backlinks. I think the standard answer here would be no, you can't say what's compromised. I would say the chance of it being is probably higher, but what's your thought, guys?
Yeah, we track this. We've obviously, a lot of these are public on various platforms. And what we've seen is, so we have our own database for guest posting as well, obviously. And there is a good chunk of overlap of outreach we've done on our own, and then we kind of end up seeing the same sites. And a lot of these databases kind of share them as well. I'd say probably 30% of it is common, and we kind of all have those. And I wouldn't say all of them are compromised. If anything, they're probably not going to hurt you. I see just Google kind of ignoring more and more of these things. So if they are compromised, like, I think in most cases, the worst case scenario is just you don't get any benefit from using these. But it's not like you need to avoid them kind of like the plague or something. If anything, look at every link, as we discussed before, kind of based on their own quality, and kind of assess them separately.
So what do you guys think as far as, and I'm going to throw out another name in our industry, but I adopted something that somebody said, and I'm not trying to kiss this guy's ass either, but I was listening to something that Clint Butler was saying about the value based on how deep the tiers were, right? So where are you going to, where is that guest post being placed? And then it goes back to the traffic side, that if Google isn't going to crawl that far down, the value of getting a link on whatever that URL, assuming that, going back to the whole, every URL is ranked by Google, not necessarily a domain, right? So if it's 6 tiers deep on Microsoft might get that love from from their crawl budget from Google, but Jim Bob's Pizza, or whatever the comparable is at 4 tiers out, what is the value of that guest post anyways? I mean, you could be writing about butterflies. It doesn't matter.
I think one of the big things for me when you look at guest posts typically is they end up as orphan pages, right? I mean, I see that being a big issue, right? Because if you're getting a guest post even on a half decent site, but it's actually an orphan page, that's.
Well, we used to. I'll use what is it? Seattle Times as an example. So we always used to backdoor into Seattle Times, and they left up their whatever you call it, like their forum on the back end of Seattle Times, and we'd go in and get that Seattle Times link. And then finally they fixed the problem one day, and all of our links went away. But what was the value of that on a subdomain that was not even directly tied to Seattle Times, to the main domain? In the end, I mean, I think we were just spinning our wheels, right? I mean, it looked good to the client saying, hey, we got you a link from Seattle Times, but there was really no value to it.
Yeah. Excellent. Sorry, many comments here. There's a lot of Polish comments around scary Polish SERPs. That's not where we should go and compete, Michael.
I didn't ask anyone really.
No.
it's like really late in here, so I'm not expecting any.
It was no.
Okay.
Greg
Now I
was
get
saying
it.
Polish SERPs are scary. I thought you guys were just doing content and content optimization.
Yeah. We've been on the conference together in Poland, like a mastermind, something like 20 people. It was kind of small, really small, kind of 4 days party in general. And yeah, this is where Craig met those Polish SEOs, and yeah, you can imagine.
Yep. Right. That's a good one. Any advice for reputation management if there's a site with a bad review ranking #1? Already doing guest posts with 2.0's medium.
Drown it out. I mean, this is one of the areas that I mean, I've since moved away from the agency side, but We did reputation management. I don't even know how to say certain things nicely, but we did reputation management for like professional athletes, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd tell them, hey, 1 shit cancels out 100 attaboys. And it depends on, you never know who you're going to have had a picture taken next to at some point in your life. So take pictures of you holding 100 different kittens, and maybe you'll get away with drowning out the internet. But that's the only really way to do it. People come to me and ask me to do negative SEO campaigns against some of these really large. I mean, how are you going to push justice.gov out of the way? You know what I mean? If it's a legal case, how are you going to push NBC out of the way? And I started in the industry with negative SEO. That's how I learned SEO, and I didn't even know it was SEO back then. But good luck. If that number one ranking, somebody came to me probably a month and a half ago and said, can you push out, I think it was Newsweek, out of the number one spot, and that's talking negatively about my client? I said, no, it's not going to happen. You could create a tipping point, but they don't have enough money. You know what I mean? Either stop breaking the law, or you know what I mean? But going back, I want to give out a nugget here because I keep telling everybody that reputation management from an SEO perspective and approaching people selling that as a service is extremely underrated. And if you can tell that story and explain to people that they need to build up those 100 attaboys, whether it's Mads has his own website where he's, adopting boxes of kittens off of the side of the road, and you're publishing content, and then all of a sudden, you get caught in that picture next to, I don't know, Britney Spears showing her hoo-ha. Well, the 100 kittens may put you in the spotlight above whatever else happens. But I think reputation management is the most underserved market within our SEO industry from a money standpoint. Go get it.
Yeah. Okay.
I think one tip with reputation management is to take into consideration the intent of the keyword. Again, like we were talking about before, where if I'm trying to hide something for my name, I'm going to take a slightly different approach than if someone is calling my company a scam, for example, or if it's a negative review. And then the other thing I've noticed, so back in the day, if you look back like 7-8 years to more of the black hat days, it was all about like creating all these profiles and Web 2.0s and spamming those with tiered links and so on and so forth. I don't see that working as well when it comes to reputation management stuff now. So now it's much more kind of a PR approach. So getting these like super high, either editorial style guest posts. So kind of using some super authoritative site as a guest post to kind of rank for these terms, or getting some kind of PR coverage, whether it's some kind of expert roundups on sites like Forbes, Huffington Post, like whatever these kind of equivalents are, and really focusing on the quality side instead of just trying to get out with volume.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the companies that comes to mind is Ripoff Reports coming back, right? So they're the masters of smear, and they're going to be probably number 8 or number 9 or number 10, at least front page for just about anything once they go in and they start smearing somebody, which is unfortunate because I don't know if I think that should be legal or not. They're just looking to hold you hostage, but the PR side is definitely a good play on that.
Yep. Okay, excellent. And the next question here. I'm an SEO freelancer, and the biggest issue is that my client don't understand SEO and why it's important.
So is it about convincing them to make changes?
I know it's my task to explain to them and do my best to educate the clients and prospect to my blog. What should I do?
Find different clients. Find the ones that already know the value of SEO, and don't try and kind of convince the ones that don't. It's a painful journey.
It's a longer one. So, Kyle, that's for you. So, related searches to determine H2, H3, do you think that by expanding my site into new topics could dilute my relevance and lead to a loss in ranking? Example, coffee machine affiliate site gets into tea kettles.
I mean, this is something I haven't put any thought to, and I think this is Michael's talk, so I think he's the one that's put a lot more thought into it than me, and I'm happy to hear his opinion.
I don't think. I don't know if it's my speed, but anyway, we can try it out. So, I would say that it may hurt you, because this way you will dilute yourself, as if competitors are about just the coffee machines, and you'll start writing about tea kettles, then you will definitely dilute your expertise in coffee machines. But if this is a general topic on the things to drink on a party, then definitely you should mention those kettles and coffee machines, and maybe something for the lemonade as well. So it all depends on the context, and all depends on the intent behind the query, and that's it, really.
Okay. Kyle, why is using semantic term for interlinking such an important ranking factor? Also, is it also the case in non-English markets?
Well, the point I was making on interlinking is that the one thing you control entirely is your own site, and you can use your own site to give yourself boosts, through passing rank and relevance. So I think probably the worst thing you could do is a click here on your own site in terms of your anchor text, as you're sending somebody from one part of your site to the other. I think you can use semantically related terms to pass relevance and pass juice that can be valuable. For what it's worth, John Mueller just talked about that Google prefers longer anchor text that gives more contextual value, that tells people where they're going, what's going on, what's going to happen when they click there, because it's a stronger signal for them, or a signal that they can understand. So take advantage of it on your own site. And I would say it's probably even more valuable for non-English markets. On page does so much better in non-English speaking markets than in English speaking markets. So I think if you can take advantage of it even more so in a non-English language, I think you're in a great spot.
And I guess when John Mueller says something, it's true.
I was about to comment on this, and probably those exact matching internal links are too strong, and they are asking us to make them, less prominent.
No, I think you could, if you have the keyword in there, you should, click here for more information about this because you're going to love it, blah, 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 blah. You get the exact keyword in there, plus you get a lot of other relevance in there as well.
Yeah, that makes sense if the context is right. Definitely.
As long as if you have just a keyword, but if the context around it isn't great, then it's probably not so helpful, but it should be. So
it's all the rage right now, isn't it?
It's all the rage. Well, Craig Campbell is talking about that, I think, tomorrow. On one of the next days, at least, he have a whole speech on CTR and so on. So hopefully you can watch that and get to know some more. But yeah, CTR, definitely a big thing. Any any feedback from anyone on CTR? Anyone played with it?
Not really.
No.
So we just did, Craig and I just did a 30 hacks for conversion rate optimization. And, and he's going to want to slap me in the head virtually after I say this, but it doesn't matter what your click-through rate is if you can't convert the traffic that you get once they're there, right?
Yeah.
So, I see a whole bunch within our industry. I'm not trying to knock our industry. Well, I do all the time, but I do it because I don't rely on money from other people in our industry to do anything, right? I don't sell a service to our industry, but it really goes back to, I had a conversation with her name's Nadia. She owns American Cash Register a decade ago. She gave me the single largest and most important business advice that I ever received, and that was, you need to learn when to abort your baby. Okay, which was extremely shocking to me at the time. But it really comes down to, soup to nuts. If getting people to a site, that's great. Don't get stuck on your titles and meta descriptions. If you're not getting, if you're getting impressions and you're not getting clicks, change your titles and your meta descriptions to be better. Don't be afraid to admit that it sucks, and make the changes that are necessary. And once you are getting the clicks, and the click through by percentages at a higher percentage rate to get people on your site, figure out what's getting them to leave or not make a decision. What's engaging, what is disengaging. One of the gifts to our industry that Microsoft just gave to us is Microsoft Clarity, right? So now we have the same abilities with Microsoft Clarity that we were paying $100 per site per month for Hotjar or Crazy Egg. And it gives us all of those abilities to actually see what content's being highlighted, thermal readings, et cetera, et cetera. And it I think right now is a beautiful time to be in our industry. But learn the process, right? If they're not getting to your website, don't be afraid to look at your titles and descriptions and say, hey, maybe this sucks and I need to redo it. And for fuck's sake, just copy what your competitor's doing for the keywords that you want to rank for, make it a little bit different, or different enough, and use that as a leg up. But once they get to your site, figure out why something isn't happening. The true test of SEO and content, and I'll be the dick on this, is that people do a set it and forget it mentality of, here's my title, here's my meta description, here's the shitty content that I paid somebody 2 cents to write, and it doesn't even make any sense. But why aren't people engaging with it and doing the things that I want them to do? Well, the answer is because you didn't ever go into it for the right reasons of solving the searcher's intent.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
Makes sense. So more great questions from Peter. So do no follow links pass relevance only, or do internal links give page rank, or also just anchor text relevance? Any great feedback?
I think the only thing that no follow links are going to do is they're going to stop indexing. Like if you had a page that isn't indexed and you send a no follow link to it, Google won't crawl it for indexing purposes. But otherwise, I think it's going to pass everything you like.
Yeah.
And internal links will move rank. So then yes, they are passing page rank.
That was straightforward. Kyle, this was a challenge for you.
I can only do it, but it's backwards. That's the only way I can do it.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, Andrew is totally on the spot with that one. Excellent. Okay. Let's do one more question. So, what is the best way of figuring out what keywords to use? Well, I can answer that one. Go and watch Carl's speech again. It is still live. So that is the perfect answer to that one. Excellent. Right, guys. I think we've managed to hit a whole hour of questions. Still have a few, but I think the other ones are maybe better suited for other days with lots of link relevant stuff. So thank you very much for all joining in, and thank all of you for asking lots of relevant questions. And yeah, I'll see everyone tomorrow.
That was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. See ya.